Hi,
Oh, hi, how are you?
good, and you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. My name is Arlene Martinez. A pleasure to have you. I
Yeah.
just saw the yesterday. I saw the whole movie, the documentary. Freaking amazing.
Oh,
Love
thank you.
it. Okay, let's talk about Sally. How what inspired you to tell her story and make it, to the TV, the big screen?
Yeah, Sally was a hero of mine from when I was a little kid onward, and I think the equation was very simple. It's just if a girl can go to space, maybe I can do big things too. And I think that's the value of heroes. That's what we need people to push us and show us that there's a path forward and that we can keep going. And if Sally can do it, we can do it. And so that was my initial love of Sally. And I think that was the love many, many people had for Sally. I also think space is this place that was traditionally very masculine. You had to be brave and you had to be a fighter pilot, and women weren't allowed in that space. So to see a woman
Mhm.
doing something that women weren't supposed to do, I think it was something that I loved as a kid. But then as I got older and I realized I learned with the rest of the world in 2012 that she was survived by this female life partner. I started to see that there was a more interesting story there because NASA was barely ready for women, and
Mhm.
I started to think, well, being gay and being a woman, what would that mean in your interpersonal life? And I think Sally was not able to be celebrated for her full story when she was alive. She was celebrated for part of who she was, but this beautiful romance. I mean, love is beautiful. Love is
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
to be celebrated, and so I wanted to celebrate Tam and their love story and give it space in history that I think it deserved.
I've been, I like it there because I used to live in Satellite Beach. If you know about
Oh
space,
yeah.
Satellite Beach is one of the first housing from bases from that Cape Canaveral. My husband used to work for Cape Canaveral.
Oh
We were
wow.
actually in there with the first woman commander, Aileen Collins. It was the
Yes.
first command. We were
Yes.
there,
The
so
shuttle.
it was amazing. So
Amazing.
I'm like, I love it. I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. But it was, didn't know like how bad it was for women, how hard it was for women to, to be in, doing this stuff in NASA. It's kind of crazy. And what was happening in the country too with the LGBT community. It was like, you cannot say you were, they like your same gender because you get kicked out of, you get no sponsor. I'm
Right.
pretty sure it was a really hard, you know, life for her to do what they were expecting from her, what
Exactly.
she really wanted. How you balance that to portray this on this?
Yeah, I think the film is really two stories side by side. It's the public
Mm-hmm.
spotlight that was celebrated at the time, and for that we have so much footage, and that was a great challenge. It was too much footage. We had 5,000 reels of over 5,000 reels of NASA archive that we had to bring into the systems, and then none of it had sound, so we had to sync it with sound. Um,
Wow.
and the sound is from a different archive, and so that was really tough. But then there was another story which I found much more interesting because it hadn't been told, the private story, which there was almost no footage of at all. So that part was an immense challenge because we had to figure out what kind of how to tell a love story without any visuals. So we kind of created our own cinematic language that we shot on 16 millimeter film of the feeling of being in love. It tells the story of the feeling of being in love, the first time they met as children, this going to tennis camp together, the first time that Sally and Tam's relationship went from friendship to romance, and we wanted it to be sexy, romantic, inspiring, all of these things. So that was a different kind of challenge that we had to um, face that I've never kind of encountered before in filmmaking.
How was working with Tam and her mom, Sally's mom? How was like bringing, approaching to them to
Yeah.
bring them to talk to, to tell this story?
Yeah, I think it really was all about trust, and building trust. I think oftentimes you can see in front of the camera how people are, what the relationship is like with people behind the camera. And I hope in
Mm-hmm.
people will see that that Tam trusted me, And I really am so grateful to that because I don't know if I would be able to trust somebody in that way to be that vulnerable about the person I love most in this world. And so I was very grateful. But I loved interviewing Joyce Ride. It's the hardest interview I've ever done in my entire life. I used to be an investigative journalist, and I used to talk to drug lords and executives and all kinds of different people who had secrets and were very difficult to pull anything out of. And Joyce was the hardest I've ever interviewed in my entire life. And I think it shows
Yes, it
where
does. It does.
Sally's introversion, where Sally's shyness comes from, her inability to connect with her real emotions. If you don't have a model for that at home, I mean, Latinos, we are the most emotional people. Um, but if you don't have a model for how to emote, how to love, how to, express your feelings, or if you're not supposed to,
Hmm.
how do you do it in real life? I think actually that became a great asset to her as an astronaut.
Oh
You
yeah.
compartmentalize, you have to hide your fear, you have to, but being in a relationship with her, made that very difficult. So, I did a documentary about Carol G and Sally Ride at the same time. Um, and those two women
Wow.
could not be more
Wow.
different. Yeah, the Carol documentary that was just on Netflix, I directed, and
Congratulations. I love it and I cry like a baby.
oh, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, there are two more different women did not have never existed than Sally and Carol. So it was fun to tell their stories. I mean, both of them are incredibly driven, incredibly inspirational, but one of them is very good at emotions and very vulnerable.
And
One of them is not.
oh, I know. Like, what do you want the audience to take about this? To this story or to know more about Sally,
Yeah.
what she did. Because I'm like, I've been in space. My husband worked in Space Command all his life. He just retired. Space Command is what is Space Force now. And I didn't know. I didn't know. Would you know what stories out there? For me, I thought the first commander, the command, the in 1999, that was the first woman. I didn't know. Like, so for me, that was, really interesting, to find all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope people will, I want to celebrate Sally. I think people knew this story in 1983, but I think a lot of people have forgotten it. A lot of
Hmm.
younger people don't know it. And so we wanted to retell the story of like how hard it was during that time. But I think the story is for anyone who's ever had to hide part of themselves to get where they want.
Hmm.
And I think that's a more universal experience now in 2025 for the queer community, for the Latin community. So I hope the film gives people hope, and shows them that um, things can get better, things have gotten better, but we have a long way
Yes.
to
Yeah.
continue.
Still a long way, but it got way, way better because I'm like, what I just saw, I'm like the tennis player that, found out that they found out she was a queer. She lost all her sponsors. Like, she started
Right,
from the beginning. That was like, wow. All your
right,
hard work just because you love somebody of your same sex, it's just gone.
exactly. Exactly.
Crazy. Crazy. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I love it. And tengo que ver lo de Walter Mercado. I had to watch
Uh-huh.
it. I haven't seen it. I'm Puerto Rican too, so I had to
So
see
you
it.
have no excuse.
And I love Carol G. That was
I really
really,
want there to be a Benito doc. That's the one that I hope somebody's working on.
please. Oh, no, you had to get in.
No,
Talk.
not me. It has to be a Puerto Rican. It has to be a
Yes, yes. Well, talk to Nora. Maybe you can. Hey, do you did Carol G? You can contribute with your
no,
skills.
maybe you. Maybe you have to do that one.
But thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really love it. And I hope people, get more, about what women went through and what LGBT community went through and what we are right now, and make it positive and to have better, to be better.
No. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Lovely to meet
you.
you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you. Bye.